Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Myra, co founder of B3 Media Solutions, and we specialize in social media monitoring, listening, and analytics reporting. And I'm joined by my co founder, Barika, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I am Barika, one of the co founders of B3 Media Solutions, and I am so excited about today, Myra.
Well, I know why you're excited a little bit because
Why?
I woke up this morning and what was trending, going viral, was hashtag delete Facebook. Now,
I
it's not,
know.
it's not a new hashtag. We know it's been around a while, but
Yes.
Rika, what's going on today?
So, after Facebook announced the loss of their followers, it's just so interesting that so many people hopped on the delete Facebook bandwagon. It was totally taking over Twitter. People were coming in with awesome memes to kind of keep the conversation going, and it's still trending right now.
Right. Yeah. When I looked earlier today, it was like 10,000. It's like already up to 15,000 just today. So, some things I found were humorous. Delete hashtag delete Facebook. Every single person I know on Facebook hates it and only keeps their accounts because of a handful of people slash pictures they hate to give up. Not a one likes it or uses it much anymore, so this is unsurprising.
No, I found one where a mom said that her 17-year-old and 26-year-olds don't even have one, and the only reason she keeps hers is because of her elderly parents. And once they're gone, she's deleting Facebook.
Wow. But I still use Facebook and I love the collage, the birthday collage. It really helps me keep track of whose birthday it is. So, I
I,
mean,
I have to agree, keeping track of people's birthday is definitely a function of Facebook. But with all the privacy concerns and all the data issues, it's a wonder why people are so over Facebook.
right, right. But we're here to talk about other things too. And I know you're excited about this because today we're talking about using competitive data to amplify your social strategy. So let's put up
Yes.
the agenda to cover what we are going to talk about today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is why brands need data to understand their customers and what data to analyze. Now that's an important one because there's so much data out there on social. It's like what's important? What do I pay attention to? Then we want to talk a little bit about translating your marketing objectives to social KPIs, which are your key performance indicators. And then choosing your competitive set. So, this is what we're talking about, like how do you set up that whole competitor analysis? And then we dive into like what social media networks matter to you and your brand. Benchmarking and metrics is so important to do every month. And then the type of analysis that we do. So I just want to ask Rika, like, what are some of the key reasons why brands and companies need to pay attention to data and use it, and how do they use it to understand their customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think before we get into the competitive intelligence part, it's really important for us to look at why brands actually need data. Brands really have to fully adapt to understand their consumers these days because we live in this hyper connected digital world. And within that, we know that there's a strong demand for direct to consumer goods that are really creating a pressure in which smaller, more agile companies like, I don't know, maybe Tesla or even Uber, Purple, they're able to come in and fully disrupt big brands and turn industries upside down. Also, another reason is just the advancements in technology. They're creating so much data out there. They're impacting the digital world as we know it, how we receive services, how we generate information, how we communicate. So AI is a good example, right, Myra? Because AI is pretty much in everything, in our social listening tools, it's in our phone systems, it's in so many products and services. And then lastly, brands need to look at the data that consumers consumers are generating online. They'll tell you opportunities that exist for your product. Maybe if there's a gap in a market, it'll give you that information, as well as it can tell you whether or not you can improve new flavors. So there's just so much data out there for brands to really understand and utilize as they are going about their marketing strategy and developing their overall strategy. But even beyond that, Myra, I think it's really important to know that we are living in such a social and political time of unrest. And because of that, there's so many things, from like the Black Lives Matter issue last year, the January 6th incident, looking at climate change and coronavirus and vaccines and sustainability. There's so many things to go that are going on, that brands really have to pay attention to the information that they are receiving and how other brands, competitor brands, are handling that information. So I know that everyone says, uh, you know, data, that knowledge is power, right? I've heard that 1,000 times, but I really like this Tony Robbins quote. And it's, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. Action is power. And the only way that you're going to be able to take that action is if you have data, right?
That's right. That is so true. And I wanted to talk a little bit how we can use data and cut it and slice it and dice it and segment it to understand it better. So, some of the ways we like to look at data is separated out by your earned media versus paid media versus owned. So, earned media is any media mentions and content that you don't own or you partnered with somebody to kind of amplify for you. So that's earned media. Then paid media is like all the content and activations that you put dollars behind. And then your own media is kind of like your organic. Well, it is your organic content. It's what your own brand or you put out there that on your websites for your campaigns and all your social sites. And then we do another segment cut of data. We like to look at the industry wide information on social versus your competitors. And that's kind of the whole focus here is like, how do we analyze competitor data? So moving on to the next slide. And with all this data, you have to ensure that it translates, all your marketing objectives is translating to social KPIs, or you tie it basically. Is you're tying it to a social key performance indicator. So they ultimately translate to the four key buckets of the customer journey, which is awareness, consideration, purchase, and advocacy. So these are the four segments which customers go through. They become aware of your brand, and you can really measure that by your social reach, your impressions, and these are some of the metrics to guide you to help you determine whether or not your brand is reaching an awareness key performance indicator. And then so the consideration bucket, that's when people are engaging with your content, they're liking things, they're sharing it, they're actually saying that they're interested in your product. That's the consideration bucket. And then purchase, are they saying they own it or they just bought it? So that's that whole part of the journey of a customer where they now become an advocate and start talking about how they love your brand and they're recommending it to people. And they're just really becoming your brand advocate. And what key other key information around advocacy is a competitor share voice or share a voice within a competitive set. And so when we look at that, that's another piece and critical part of competitor analysis that brands should really look into. And with that, it's about understanding the lay of the land. It's important really to understand what your competitors are doing. You have to really know what they're up to, where your business stands in the market, because it's critical for your brand to stay relevant in that regard.
And it's good that you brought up share a voice, because share a voice is one of those things that I think every brand actually needs to keep top of mind, specifically because like if you're trying to gain market share in online conversations, that usually translates to more people hearing about your brand, and then you moving up in actual market share in terms of sales. We've seen that with a number of our clients where, we started working with them. They were maybe at the bottom level, but like over time and continued effort and actually putting out good content, listening, monitoring their competitors, we've seen them move from like the bottom spot to like number one spot. So
Mhm.
it just really depends. And I like what you were saying there as far as like following it along the customer journey. So Myra, I guess I think that there are really like two camps of like the types of competitors that most people think of, but I can think about six different things for some of the clients that we work with. So yes, there is direct competitors. And that is definitely the direct people that and you are that your brand or your company has interest in or actually goes head to head against. But there's so many others, like brands with similar resources. So Myra, you were telling me about the Petco analysis that you were doing.
Right, right. So I was just looking at conversations around Petco, and what was interesting was that I know that PetSmart was an obvious competitor, so that was easy to recognize. But when I was just looking at Petco, another competitor did surface, and I was like, I had never even heard of this one. Oh gosh, now I can't remember the name, but so
Etsy. I think it was Etsy.
well, Etsy was one, but it was
Yeah.
another pet supplies. I don't know what it was. Online
Chewy.
store. Yes, but Chewy was one, obviously. But so what it does is it reveals like what other brands you should be paying attention to that you didn't know. There's also another service, SimilarWeb. Remember that? SimilarWeb is another way you can kind of uncover a competitor if you don't know. But the point was that you're revealing other competitors that you may not know about, so you're keeping an eye on them. What are they doing? How are they emerging? Are they trying to maybe steal your share of voice? So you gotta
Exactly.
you gotta really keep an eye on it.
Exactly. And so we also have clients that, they're already the top of their game. So rather than look at direct competitors, they would rather look at inspirational brands or first movers. So those are the brands that, I may not be in motorcycles, but Harley Davidson is amazing on social. So wanting to aspire to be like them, Wendy's, how quirky and snarky they are on social, those are some of the aspirational brands that don't have to be in your exact industry, but you may want to do some brand competitive benchmarking against them. There's also brands that maybe do one part of your marketing funnel well. So say for instance, a brand has courses. So maybe you do other things besides courses, but they do so well on courses that you want to take a look at them and how they do their business and on social, and look at that and use that as a benchmark. There's also comparing specific markets. So maybe instead of just looking at the beauty industry, maybe you also want to take that and look at retail and see how they are able to do things in the fashion industry that maybe you can take and put into your industry. And then lastly are brands with a similar business model. And I think that that's really important because you may be like a very small business. So even small businesses can take the information that they have with other small brands and use that. Because if you're a large brand, it doesn't really make sense to kind of benchmark yourself to a smaller brand, and vice versa is the same. So Myra, I'd love to know like what are you thinking are some of the most important parts of building your competitive landscape?
Sure. I mean, knowing your competitors. So it's like
Well,
number
obviously,
one.
yes, that.
Number
But
one.
benchmarking, I'm thinking of benchmarking, like what are the ways that we typically do that?
Well, the way we benchmark is collecting the data. So we have a tool, an awesome tool that we use called Rival IQ, and basically allows you to put in your brand and all your channels and collect the information of your followers, and your growth in followers. There's information on engagement rates, and um, if you can look into this slide a little bit closer, I got to zoom in because I can't see. It's posts per week. All these metrics are things that you want to measure and benchmark, because then you look at it next month to measure and see, did you grow in followers, and did you increase your posts, did your engagement increase? So that is some of the key information that we collect to benchmark your data. But like I said, building your competitive landscape, the first thing is identifying who are your competitors. And if you don't know them, if they're not obvious to you, like I suggested, there is a free service called SimilarWeb where you can find competitor websites that you may not know about. But once you identify those, you can input them in a tool like Rival IQ, and the output is something like the table that you see below. So in this example, we're looking at a company called Spindrift, and
Spindrift, yeah.
they're a
They have,
health food and a drink
they
company.
have flavor. It's flavored water.
Flavored water. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. So they identified their competitive set and inputted in the Rival IQ tool. And so Rival IQ does its calculations and gives you a chart for a particular date range.
So
And
what am I looking at for this?
okay, so what I look at when I do competitor analysis is like, first of all, where is my brand? Where do I fall in this chart? So go back one slide. We're still on that chart. Yeah. So what I look at is like, where do I fall? So Spindrift, is at number 7. So, not the top, kind of, just right below average. And then the next thing I look at number 1, Beyond Meat. Like, what are they doing? Like, what is their content look like? So then I do my social stalking and I start like poking around on their social sites and like, what are they doing? Are they working with influencers, or do they have any active campaigns or fun hashtags or giveaways that they're working on? And then the third thing I look at in this analysis is my eyes are drawn to like the percent change, the big number. Like I look directly at that plus 93.6%. And that's like, wow. So Impossible Foods, they had a percent change, and this was, I think, a week change. It went up 93% engagement rate by followers. So then I would dig into their social profile, and this is Instagram in particular, and I still see what they're doing. Are they working with influencers? Do they have, a fun campaign going on? So those are the type of things that you want to poke around and look at the competitors, because you're trying to get an understanding of your competitor audiences for comparisons. What are they doing? Is this something that you can replicate, or develop a better approach? And also you can identify sometimes unmet needs by like going through comments and see if their customers are complaining about something. Maybe they don't have good curbside service or no curbside service, and maybe you can jump their jump the competition and just create something that they're complaining about, the competitors are complaining about, the competitor audience is complaining about. And then also tracking trends. Is there something trending that your competitor is using, like a trending hashtag that you can jump in and just have some fun, engaging conversation? Those are valuable ways you can use competitor data.
And I think that there are also a number of, like, I love that you said that, because some of the trends that we track on in analysis, there's like, I know a number that Rival IQ provide, but some of the main ones that we like to focus on are positioning analysis. Now, positioning analysis can be something that I know a lot of different people may not be familiar with, especially when it comes to social. But in positioning analysis, this is where I'm actually looking at what language you're using in for your brand, how you describe yourself or your craft or your product, and then how each company describes themselves and what channels they are doing that, because it changes from channel to channel. So we are looking at the bio length, the hashtag usage, emojis, and if you have like a link tree where you reference other platforms. Then the fun one actually is the creative content. What does that look like? What are the top performing posts? What are the bottom performing posts, and why? Just picking that apart for you and your competitive set will give you a lot of great information that you can use in coming up with information for your editorial calendar. Also, captions. Captions, are really, really important because to determine their success, you have to understand what words that you're using are connecting with the audience. So we look into helping to brands to understand how these words that they're using and that their competitors are using are driving the needle. Is it highly engaging words? Is it broadly used words? What are those things that you're saying that actually drive that conversation? And three other ones that we look at are around hashtags. So, of course, we want to be able to understand how hashtags are helping users find your brand or your competitor's brand, but also how they're being able to include how well those posts are performing on Instagram or Twitter that have specific hashtags. Other analysis that we'll do is just post type. So this is just looking at what kinds of posts. Is it a carousel post? Is it a video post? Is it just a straight picture post? So looking at which post type actually performs better on your channel versus competitor channel is a great way to really understand how maybe you need to switch up your content to be a specific type to match your competitors, or have a specific mix that maybe may work better for your audience. And then the last analysis is the boosted post. Now it's really, really hard, but a tool like Rival IQ is really great in that it does help you to understand some of the different ways that your competitors may be boosting their posts. So it'll help you see where you should put your money versus your competitors and where they're putting their money. Oops. I dropped my mouse.
Well, thank you, Rika, for that. Just the types of analysis and just going over that in detail.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we always want to remind people when they're doing their analysis of the reports and doing the social analysis is what they should always include is
Appendix.
what?
An appendix.
You got a reminder. Okay, an appendix. Okay, yes, because that's important. They need to know, like your audience needs to know where you got the information, the date range, details around keywords, or any critical information that they should know. Just put it in the appendix. Always, always, always.
But you were
Is there
talking
anything
about
else? Is there
you were
anything
talking
else?
about the executive summary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that's the number one thing. Too long, didn't read it. So oftentimes these reports that we pull together, or that you may pull together for your executive team, it can be pages and pages, up to 30 slides. Even 5 slides is long. So make sure you finish and share your results by putting together a clear, concise executive summary that's very clean. You want to draw the attention to the key insights, to the highlights of your research, and just make it easy. The point is, you want the data to be digestible, because if nobody's digesting it, then they just toss it to the side, and then all that hard work that you did, all the hours of crunching numbers and data, nobody's looking at it. So below, on the bottom of the slide, you'll see an example of a 4 bullet point executive summary that you should always, always include with every single report, and the appendix.
And
So,
the appendix.
and so
Definitely making sure that you include the appendix.
a nice wrap up, right?
A
Wrap
nice little wrap up,
to
like a little wrap up to kind of make sure that everyone gets the key insights of what you found in the report. So I just wanted to make sure that, like, if anyone is looking for more information, even if you want the slides from today, we actually have them available. If you head over to our website, which is www b3mediasolutions.com. We would love to give you these slides where you can get more information about kind of what we walked you through. We also have a template that we use that we'd love to share with anyone who's looking for more information on doing an actual competitive benchmarking analysis, and we'd love to help. Before we wrap up, we also want to give everyone an opportunity to, if you need a free 30-minute consultation, we would love to talk to you about your brand issue, help you put together a data or even a reporting template that you may be able to use if you're looking for something like that. And of course, we are always available if you reach out to us on our website. So,
Yes.
so
And we will be, oh, go ahead.
no, so I mean, I just think that that the data and everything that we presented, I know it was kind of overwhelming, but it was actually very interesting and fun once you start getting into it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially when you discover something that you didn't know. It's
I
like,
know.
information. And I just want to say that we'll be returning later this month for another live stream. So please tune in, follow us, like us, and share our information. And we'll see you later on this month.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.